Well,
All right, in this episode, we're joined by the one and only Mrs. Grimmett. Miss Grimmett, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Will, and thanks for including me in your thoughts and memories of early college.
Couldn't do it without you. All right, so we probably need to start with a little history lesson about how early college came to be. How did that all come together?
It started in, I want to say, 2004, 2005, where a group of people got together with our then superintendent, Dr. Dorita Postlewaite, and talked about the concept of early college. Early college was not new at that point. North Carolina had early colleges there with their community college or technical colleges. Just about every technical college had a early college back in 2004, 2005, when we first started looking at this. And a group of people, a busload of people, took a trip and we went up into North Carolina and Virginia and we visited early colleges. And we visited all kinds of early colleges, our early colleges that just were similar to our Scholars Academy there at Coastal Carolina University, and then those that followed what was then called the GATES model, because the Gates Foundation was funding early colleges in North Carolina with their technical colleges.
Um,
From there, that group of people began talking about and getting together with and then at the time, President Wilson and Dr. Ford there at Horry Georgetown Tech, and began to dream about doing an early college there. In 2005, I was brought on board as a director. I was the director of adult education at the time, but I was added to that to begin working with and developing an early college, working with Dr. Ford and seeing what we could do about having an early college at Horry Georgetown Technical College. And then the gears from there started cranking, and there was a community board who had some. You may have met Marcia Griffin and Gwendol and Mark. Oh goodness, his name just left me. I'll think of it in a second. But anyway, there was a group of individuals in the community who worked together as a separate board that is still, I think, working with early college and providing some scholarship funds, as well as assistance with students that are continuing to go on to four-year colleges and universities. In 2006, the spring of 2006, we began um, recruiting and recruited fairly widely throughout the community. There weren't a whole lot of restrictions at that point in time. But we ended up with 127 in that first class, with about four teachers and a principal and a guidance counselor. And we invaded Horry Georgetown Tech there in building 100 and building 200 initially. And, um, and then in 2010, we had that first graduating class of students who weathered that learning curve with us and graduated. That first graduating class, I think there were 114 of them that stayed with us throughout the whole 4 years and graduated in 2010. So the class of 2025 coming up is the 15-year mark of early college and students going and thriving and having the opportunity to be a part of the school uh, environment there.
it's exciting. It's always exciting to see things live on. Think back to when we were kind of in the initial planning stages. What was the overall vision with Dr. Ford and Mr. Wilson and yourself and everybody else who was kind of part of it? What was the overall vision? What should a student be getting out of the program?
Well, from the very beginning, we followed what is considered the Gates model, which we were looking for first generation, uh, middle of the road average kids who just wanted to go to college, who might not have had that opportunity to go to college, might not have had other family members that had been to college, or had anyone that graduated from college. So we started with that vision. We wanted to bring together students who were capable, and had a good work ethic and were well recommended from their teachers in their schools that they would be an ideal candidate for early college. So that was our vision, that they would be these students that might not have gone to college, but given this opportunity, not only would do a 2-year degree, but also get a technical degree or go on to for a 4-year degree.
Okay. What were some of the opportunities? We'll call them opportunities. I think I
There were
learned that
definitely
from
a
you.
number of opportunities.
I think I learned that from you in my interview. But what opportunities do you think really stuck out the most in the early years?
Initially, the opportunity was fitting into an adult environment on a college campus. We were right in the middle of building 200, which is right where the president's office was, and the dean's offices were, and the business offices, and it was an open campus, which is, that was a bit of a challenge. Anybody could walk through that door at any time. Um, and then trying to the college becoming the people who work there and the professors getting comfortable with having high schoolers on their loud, busy, rustling high schoolers on a college campus where they were used to a pretty quiet, serene environment. So that was a bit of a challenge, but boy, did they come around. They became so welcoming to our kids. It was a learning process for all of us on how to fit together, but it really became a good environment for the kids there. Striving long, that they were accepted. The professors were excited about having them in their classroom. So that was one of the challenges. That open campus, of course, was another challenge because we were not all in one building. We had PE and lunch over on the opposite side of the campus in the 1000 building. So there was a lot of opportunities for young people to maybe
Yeah.
seek a little adventure along the way. It was an open parking lot. It was just an interesting time. It really fell to the kids to step up and realize that they were going to have to mature a little more quickly than maybe they wanted to be in that kind of an environment. So those were kind of the first initial challenges. Um, there were also challenges with kids who were torn between being there and not being back on their campus with their peers, being a part of the regular high school experience because this was a different experience than what their parents had had, as maybe their siblings had had. So that was a little bit of challenge as well. And of course, then the sports and the athletics and the cheerleading and all of those parts of high school that we did not have there, but they had an opportunity to go back in the afternoons and participate. So those were initially some of the challenges we had.
Love those opportunities. That's how we grow and get better,
Yeah.
right? No, I love that. How does Avid fit into this whole thing?
Oh my goodness. Well, when I was given the title of director of early college, I'm thinking to myself, all right, I'm going to get these eighth grade students coming out of eighth grade, and I need them to be at early college for 1 year and then go to college. And how are we going to do that? College is such a different environment from high school. These were students who were coming out, reading at the eighth or ninth grade level, getting ready to take algebra or geometry, and we were wanting them in their 10th grade year of high school to go to college. So I began looking around and thinking about what that would be, and there just seemed to be a core of skills that the kids needed to have to make all of that happen. And I happened to be sent to Atlanta with a group of people from the district to hear about Avid. It had been recommended that I go here, and I listened, and I just wasn't very impressed initially. But the very last day, I had a session where I was in a room, and they brought out all the materials, and I went, "This is it. This is what we need to have these kids have the college-ready skills that they need by the 10th grade or at least the 11th grade year of high school." So that's kind of how it came about. I saw those materials and I came back and I said, we've got to become an Avid school. We've got to have these skills in place. in order to support these young people and be able to give them the skills to be successful in college at a very young age.
Makes sense. Also, a great way to bring employees on board with those summer institute trips.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was a little bonding experience at times. There were some very good opportunities in that 6 hour drive with a van load of new teachers to get to
Right?
know them well and them to get to know. You've been on that trip. It's
I
quite
have.
an experience, a little daunting when you know you're going to pull up in that tech parking lot at 6 o'clock in the morning and get in a van load with a bunch of strangers that you don't know and have a crazy woman driving down the road. So you've been there, you've done
I've been
that.
there.
It's a great experience. We spent a week together getting to know each other. For you and those new people coming on board to work side by side with more seasoned teachers or veteran teachers who have been avid teachers that were there to continue learning about avid. And then of course there was the evenings and the afternoons where we had some fun together.
No, they were great. You know, that's I think really something that kind of solidified the staff. It got everybody kind of on the same page. And I love the fact too, like, all right, you're hired. All right, now we're going. Like, there's no wait. There's no, I'm going to wait for a year or two to go. It's just, let's get in the van and go. Because as a new teacher, you have no idea really what Avid is until you start getting into it. And just so you know, the trips are still an adventure. They are an adventure.
Oh, good.
We've had flights canceled, and me and Candy drove all the way to Tampa once. Uh, just we've been stuck at the Orlando airport before. We've been stuck in Charlotte. We've had Tim Graham driving giant number of people all the way back. Uh, so still an adventure, still a good bonding experience. All right, what opportunities do you think kind of reveal themselves in terms of recruiting students and recruiting faculty in the earlier years?
Well, I think I mentioned for students, the recruiting challenges had to do with not going to their base high school with their peers and choosing to take that opportunity to go somewhere new and different where you might not know anyone from your school that's going there, or there be people from your school that you're not friends with or associated with. But for the young people, I think it is a brave step to step out of their comfort zone. And even though moving from middle school to high school is not comfortable, but moving from middle school to a completely new school, I think added a different level of maybe stress or concern for them. But we've had, that once they get there, we've had some that came kicking and screaming because their parents wanted, this is what their parents wanted for them and they didn't, who became recruiters for the program. So the students are really the ones that do the best recruiting for us. They're the ones that go back and say, "Hey, I'm glad I didn't want to do this, but I did this, and I'm so glad I did this. Look at